Have you ever opened your fridge feeling confident that everything inside is safe, fresh, and exactly where it should be, only to realize later that your trusted appliance might be sabotaging your health without you even knowing it? For millions of people, especially those over the age of 50, this quiet kitchen companion could be turning ordinary foods into silent threats. We often think of refrigeration as the gold standard for food safety, a cold sanctuary where spoilage slows and bacteria stay at bay. But what if that very assumption is causing more harm than good? Every year, nearly 48 million Americans fall ill due to foodborne illnesses, and over 3,000 of them die. A large portion of these victims are seniors whose immune systems are no longer as strong as they once were. What's truly alarming is that many of these health hazards don't begin in restaurants or street food stalls. They start at home, right inside the fridge. Despite being a symbol of freshness, the refrigerator can become a breeding ground for bacteria, nutrient destruction, and even dangerous chemical reactions if certain foods are stored improperly. Recent studies and expert warnings reveal a surprising truth. Refrigerating some everyday items, fruits, vegetables, pantry staples, can drastically reduce their nutritional value, alter their chemical composition, and in some cases, create compounds linked to serious illnesses. What's more concerning is that most people have no idea they're making these mistakes. We've been taught to chill first and ask questions later. But that habit, especially for aging adults with vulnerable digestive and immune systems, can be quietly harmful. You might think you're protecting your food by putting it in the fridge, but the reality is more complex. Some foods become soggy, lose flavor, or grow mold faster in cold conditions. Others undergo biochemical changes that can lead to toxic byproducts when cooked. And in some alarming cases, storing certain foods in the fridge under the wrong conditions can promote bacterial growth capable of causing severe illness or even death. So what are these foods, and why are they so dangerous when chilled? From popular staples like potatoes and bread to health heroes like garlic, tomatoes, and bananas, the truth about cold storage might surprise you. In this video, we're going to walk you through 9 common foods that should never go in your fridge, especially if you're over 50 and want to protect your health and longevity. Stick with us to the end. What you learn could not only improve your energy, digestion, and immunity, but might just save your life. And before we dive in, let us know in the comments, have you been refrigerating any of these foods without realizing the risks? 1. Potatoes, the hidden danger lurking in your fridge. If there's one food that's practically a staple in kitchens across the world, it's the humble potato. From mashed to roasted, baked to boiled, potatoes are a comforting, versatile favorite, especially among seniors who grew up cooking with them. But what if something so familiar and seemingly harmless could quietly turn toxic right inside your refrigerator? Believe it or not, putting raw potatoes in the fridge is one of the most dangerous food storage mistakes you can make, and it's far more common than you think. Most people assume that chilling a potato will help it last longer or keep it fresh. But under cold conditions, something sneaky happens beneath the surface. The starches in the potato begin converting into sugars much more rapidly. This process, known as cold-induced sweetening, might sound innocent, but it leads to something far more harmful when those potatoes are eventually cooked. Here's where it gets alarming. When you bake, roast, or fry refrigerated potatoes, especially at high temperatures, the increased sugars react with naturally occurring amino acids and form a chemical called acrylamide. Acrylamide is a known neurotoxin and has been linked to cancer in animal studies. It's currently being investigated for its effects on humans, and the results so far are not comforting. Seniors, whose bodies are already more vulnerable to oxidative stress and inflammation, should be particularly cautious. But the risks don't stop at chemical changes. Refrigerated potatoes also undergo physical and nutritional decline. Their texture becomes grainy, soft, or oddly sweet, a clear sign that their cell structure has started to break down. They may also darken in color, a sign of oxidation and nutrient loss. That delicious crispy roast potato you were planning? It might look the same on the outside, but it's already lost much of its nutritional value and may carry chemical risks. So what's the safer alternative? Keep your potatoes in a cool, dry, dark place like a pantry or cupboard, ideally between 45 degrees Fahrenheit and 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Avoid exposure to light, which can also cause potatoes to turn green and develop solanine, another toxic compound. Don't wash them before storage, as moisture speeds up spoilage. If you've already stored potatoes in the fridge, don't panic, but don't cook them at high heat. Consider boiling or steaming them instead to reduce the acrylamide formation. For seniors, especially those managing chronic conditions or working to preserve their health, small adjustments in food storage can make a big difference. Don't let a simple potato become a hidden hazard. It might be time to rethink what you're keeping in your fridge, starting with this starchy staple. 2. Bread. Why chilling your daily loaf could be a serious mistake. Bread is one of the simplest pleasures in life. Warm toast in the morning, a sandwich at lunch, maybe a roll with dinner. For many people over 50, especially those living alone or trying to limit grocery trips, it feels logical to store bread in the refrigerator to make it last longer. But here's the surprising truth. Putting bread in the fridge might be one of the worst things you can do, both for its taste and your health. It all comes down to a scientific process called retrogradation. When bread is exposed to cold temperatures, the starch molecules begin to crystallize rapidly. This causes the bread to go stale not over the course of days, but in just hours. Instead of keeping your loaf soft and fresh, the fridge actually accelerates the staling process. The result? Dry, tough, and crumbly slices that no longer resemble the fresh loaf you brought home. But texture isn't the only issue. There's a more hidden danger, especially for older adults: mold. When you take cold bread out of the fridge and expose it to warm kitchen air, condensation can form inside the packaging. This creates the perfect moist environment for mold spores to grow, often before you can even see them. Moldy bread isn't just unappetizing. It can be harmful, especially for people with weakened immune systems. Certain molds produce mycotoxins, toxic substances that can irritate the digestive tract, weaken the immune response, and in some cases, lead to serious long-term health effects. And here's the catch. Seniors are more susceptible to these risks because their bodies don't process toxins as efficiently as they once did. Even small exposures can cause problems over time, including inflammation, digestive issues, or allergic reactions. So, what should you do instead? If you eat bread regularly, store it in a sealed container or bread box at room temperature, away from sunlight and heat. It will stay fresh for up to 3 to 4 days. For longer-term storage, the freezer is your best friend. Slicing the loaf before freezing allows you to remove only what you need. Unlike the fridge, the freezer doesn't cause staling or encourage mold, making it the safest option for seniors trying to extend the shelf life of their bread. In the end, storing bread in the fridge might seem like a smart habit, but it can backfire in ways you'd never expect. If you've been doing it for years without realizing the risks, now's the time to change. Keep your bread soft, tasty, and safe. Because sometimes, what you don't see, like microscopic mold or invisible toxins, can be more dangerous than you think. 3. Onions, the surprising risk lurking in your refrigerator drawer. Onions are a staple in nearly every kitchen, flavorful, affordable, and essential for countless recipes. But if you're one of the many people who automatically toss a bag of onions into the refrigerator, it's time for a serious rethink. While this might seem like a harmless habit, storing onions in the fridge could actually reduce their quality, encourage spoilage, and even introduce hidden health hazards, particularly for older adults. Whole onions come with a natural built-in defense, a papery outer skin that keeps moisture out and freshness in. However, when placed in the cold, damp environment of a refrigerator, this balance is disrupted. The high humidity inside the fridge causes whole onions to absorb moisture, softening their texture and increasing the risk of mold growth. What once was a crisp, firm vegetable quickly becomes a mushy, slimy mess, and worse, the spoiled parts might not be visible from the outside. But the problems go beyond just texture. Onions are naturally pungent, releasing sulfur-based compounds that give them their strong smell and sharp taste. In the confined space of your fridge, these compounds can seep into other foods. Have you ever taken a bite of butter or fruit and wondered why it tasted oddly like onions? That's not your imagination, that's cross-contamination. It's unpleasant at best, and at worst, it could encourage faster spoilage in other nearby items. There's also a little-known risk tied to cut onions. Once sliced, onions begin to lose their protective barriers. When stored in the fridge, even if wrapped or covered, they can become a breeding ground for bacteria. While viral food myths claim onions absorb toxins, which isn't scientifically accurate, it is true that exposed, moist onion flesh, especially if improperly stored, can harbor harmful microbes over time. For older adults with weakened immune systems, consuming contaminated onions could lead to digestive upset or foodborne illness. So what's the right way to store them? Whole onions should be kept in a cool, dark, well-ventilated space. A pantry or mesh basket is ideal. This allows airflow and prevents the moisture buildup that leads to rot. Keep them away from potatoes too, which emit moisture and gases that speed up onion spoilage. As for sliced onions, only refrigerate them if they're sealed tightly in an airtight container and use them within 1 or 2 days. Never store chopped onions uncovered or wrapped loosely in plastic. That's a fast track to bacteria and unwanted fridge smells. In short, your refrigerator may be slowly sabotaging one of the most flavorful ingredients in your kitchen. And for people over 50, with more delicate digestion and immune systems, that's a risk not worth taking. Store onions wisely. Your gut, your meals, and your fridge will thank you. 4. Tomatoes. How the fridge silently destroys their flavor and nutrition. Tomatoes are one of the most beloved foods in the world. Juicy, vibrant, and packed with flavor, they're at the heart of countless dishes, from fresh salads and sandwiches to pasta sauces and soups. But here's something that might surprise you. Putting tomatoes in the refrigerator is one of the fastest ways to ruin them. Not only does it destroy their taste and texture, but it also depletes their nutritional value, a serious concern for older adults who rely on tomatoes for their heart and immune health. You see, tomatoes are tropical fruits, and like all tropical produce, they aren't built to handle the cold. When you put a tomato in the fridge, something subtle but damaging starts to happen. The chilly air interferes with the tomato's natural enzyme activity, which is responsible for ripening and flavor development. Instead of continuing to develop that sweet, tangy balance we all love, refrigerated tomatoes stall in place and lose their flavor in the process. But it gets worse. The texture of refrigerated tomatoes takes a nosedive. Cold air breaks down the internal structure of the fruit, making it mealy, watery, and rubbery. That satisfying firmness you expect when slicing a ripe tomato? Gone. The juicy burst of flavor in every bite? Flattened. What you're left with is a bland, soggy tomato that's more of a disappointment than a delight. For older adults, who may already experience changes in taste and appetite, this can be especially disheartening. But the impact isn't just culinary, it's also nutritional. Tomatoes are a valuable source of vitamin C and antioxidants like lycopene, both known for supporting immune function, skin health, and protecting against inflammation. Unfortunately, cold storage speeds up the breakdown of these nutrients, meaning the longer your tomatoes stay in the fridge, the fewer health benefits they offer. Even the appearance of tomatoes suffers in cold conditions. The skin can wrinkle and the flesh darken, making them look old and unappetizing even when they're technically still fresh. And if you've ever cut into a tomato only to find it bland and soggy inside, refrigeration is likely to blame. So what should you do instead? Store tomatoes at room temperature, ideally away from direct sunlight and with the stem side down to retain moisture. Keep them on the counter until they're fully ripe. And if you need to prolong their life slightly, it's better to cook or freeze them rather than chill them raw. In the end, the fridge might feel like a safe zone for your produce, but when it comes to tomatoes, it's more like a slow trap. For seniors who want to get the most out of every meal, in both taste and nutrition, keeping your tomatoes out of the cold is a small change that makes a big difference. 5. Garlic. Why the fridge could be turning this superfood into a hidden danger. Garlic has earned its reputation as a superfood, and for good reason. Packed with sulfur compounds like allicin, garlic supports immune health, lowers blood pressure, and even helps fight inflammation. For seniors looking to protect their heart, brain, and overall wellness, garlic is often a staple in the kitchen. But here's a surprising and alarming truth. Storing garlic in the refrigerator can strip away all these benefits and possibly introduce new risks. At first glance, putting garlic in the fridge might seem harmless or even helpful. After all, cool temperatures preserve freshness, right? Not in this case. Garlic is naturally equipped to last a long time when kept in a dry, cool, well-ventilated area, not a cold, moist refrigerator. When placed in the fridge, the garlic bulb is exposed to humidity and condensation, which disrupt its natural preservation. One of the first signs that refrigerated garlic is going bad is premature sprouting. You may have seen little green shoots growing from cloves, a signal that the garlic is breaking down. These sprouts are not dangerous in themselves, but they indicate the garlic is losing flavor, texture, and, most importantly, potency. The longer garlic sits in the fridge, the more it degrades, losing much of its valuable allicin content, the very compound that gives it its powerful health properties. But the risks don't stop there. If you chop or mince garlic and store it in oil, a common practice, and then refrigerate it, you might unknowingly be creating a breeding ground for Clostridium botulinum. This is the bacteria that causes botulism, a rare but deadly illness that attacks the nervous system and can lead to paralysis or even death if not treated immediately. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, has issued specific warnings against storing garlic in oil unless you add acid, like vinegar, and follow proper safety protocols. And let's not forget the flavor. Refrigerated garlic often turns rubbery and bitter, a far cry from the sharp, aromatic punch it's meant to deliver. For older adults with sensitive taste or reduced appetite, bad garlic can completely ruin a dish, or worse, discourage healthy home cooking altogether. So what's the right way to store garlic? Keep whole bulbs in a mesh bag or basket, ideally in your pantry or a cabinet away from heat and moisture. The airflow helps prevent mold and sprouting while preserving flavor and nutrients. If you need to store chopped garlic, use it within a day or two and consider mixing it with vinegar or lemon juice to keep it safe. In the end, garlic is a natural medicine chest, but only when stored correctly. Don't let your refrigerator turn this healing ingredient into a health hazard. 6. Coffee. How refrigeration can ruin your brew and your health. For many of us, especially older adults, a warm cup of coffee is more than just a morning ritual. It's comfort. It's energy. It's a moment of calm. Coffee has even been linked to improved brain function, lower risk of certain diseases, and a longer life when consumed in moderation. But if you're storing your coffee, beans, or grounds in the refrigerator thinking you're preserving freshness, you may actually be doing the exact opposite. Here's why. Coffee is hygroscopic, which means it absorbs moisture, odors, and flavors from its environment like a sponge. Inside the fridge, it sits next to all sorts of items, fruits, leftovers, onions, even fish, and over time, those smells and moisture seep in. The result? A brew that tastes dull, musty, bitter, or downright strange. What was once your energizing daily cup can quickly turn into something undrinkable. But this goes beyond taste. Every time you open and close the refrigerator door, the temperature fluctuates. This causes condensation to form inside your coffee container, especially if it's not fully airtight. That moisture doesn't just affect flavor, it causes clumping, mold growth, and nutrient degradation. The essential oils in coffee, such as chlorogenic acids, are powerful antioxidants that help fight inflammation and support heart and brain health. These oils break down rapidly in cold, damp conditions, leaving behind a flat beverage with fewer health perks. And mold? That's a real concern, especially for seniors with weakened immune systems. Damp coffee grounds left in a non-airtight container in the fridge can quietly grow invisible mold spores, and once brewed, those spores end up in your cup. Long-term exposure can lead to respiratory irritation or allergic reactions, and in some cases, gastrointestinal issues. So, what's the best way to store your coffee? Skip the fridge entirely. Instead, keep your coffee in an opaque, airtight container stored in a cool, dark cupboard, away from heat and humidity. This setup protects the delicate oils and prevents moisture intrusion. If you buy in bulk, keep a small weekly portion handy and store the rest in a sealed bag in the freezer. Unlike the fridge, the freezer can actually halt staling if the coffee is protected from condensation. Remember, coffee isn't just a beverage. For many seniors, it's a source of joy and daily comfort, as well as a subtle but important health ally. But that's only true if it's stored correctly. Don't let your refrigerator rob your coffee of its benefits or turn it into a hidden hazard. Protect your beans, and they'll return the favor with every warm, satisfying sip. 7. Honey, the sweet mistake that could spoil your health. Honey, nature's golden gift, has been treasured for centuries not just as a natural sweetener, but as a powerful remedy. From soothing sore throats to aiding digestion and even fighting bacteria, honey is often found in the kitchens of health-conscious seniors. But here's the twist. Putting honey in the refrigerator is one of the worst things you can do to it, and yet, many people make this mistake without realizing the hidden consequences. Let's start with the science. Honey is naturally low in moisture and high in sugar, a perfect combination that makes it nearly impossible for bacteria and mold to grow. In fact, it's one of the few foods in the world that doesn't spoil on its own when stored correctly. But when you put honey in the fridge, that balance is disrupted. The cold environment triggers a process called crystallization, causing the honey to become grainy, hard, and almost impossible to scoop. You might think this is just a cosmetic issue, that it only affects the texture. But there's more going on beneath the surface. Crystallized honey traps air pockets inside the jar. Every time you open and close it, moisture from the air sneaks in. And moisture, as harmless as it sounds, is honey's biggest enemy. It can lead to fermentation, which not only creates a sour, unpleasant flavor but also opens the door for microbial growth. Yes, even honey, when mishandled, can go bad. This is especially dangerous for older adults. A sour-tasting honey might seem like a minor annoyance, but fermented or contaminated honey can upset digestion or cause mild food poisoning symptoms in those with sensitive stomachs or weakened immune systems. The enzymes that give honey its natural antibacterial power also break down faster in cold conditions, reducing the very health benefits that make it so beloved. And don't forget flavor. That smooth, luxurious texture and rich floral aroma? Gone. Refrigerated honey loses its signature warmth and becomes a sticky, sour disappointment. So what's the right way to store honey? Keep it in a tightly sealed glass jar or food-safe container at room temperature, ideally in a dark, dry cupboard away from heat. That's it. No fancy tricks needed. Stored this way, honey can last indefinitely, retaining both its healing properties and its sweet perfection. If your honey has already crystallized, don't worry, it's still safe. Just place the jar in warm water, not boiling, and stir gently until it returns to its smooth state. Honey is more than just a treat. It's a timeless symbol of health and healing. But only if it's treated right. Don't let your fridge ruin this ancient superfood. Leave the cold behind, and let honey shine as nature intended. 8. Bananas, the tropical superfruit that freezes under pressure. Bananas are one of the most popular and accessible fruits in the world, especially for seniors. They're soft, easy to digest, loaded with potassium, and offer a quick source of energy. For many older adults, a banana is the perfect snack or breakfast companion. But what if we told you that sticking bananas in the fridge could actually strip them of their health benefits, or even make them unappealing and nutritionally weaker? Here's what happens. Bananas are tropical fruits, which means their natural enzymes are designed to function in warm environments. When you place a banana, especially one that's still ripening, in the refrigerator, the cold air interferes with the enzymes that control the ripening process. As a result, the banana stops ripening prematurely, locking in a firm, underdeveloped texture and dulling its natural flavor. But the damage doesn't stop there. You've probably seen this firsthand. Bananas that turn black or gray on the outside when kept in the fridge. This isn't just a cosmetic issue, it's a sign of cold injury. Underneath that darkened skin, the fruit often becomes mushy, patchy, and even carries a metallic or fermented taste. Not exactly the pleasant bite you were hoping for. What's more concerning is what happens to the nutrients inside. Bananas contain important compounds like dopamine and catechins, which are antioxidants known to support brain health and reduce oxidative stress, especially valuable for aging bodies. But studies show that exposing bananas to cold temperatures can degrade these antioxidants, reducing their effectiveness and robbing you of some of the very health benefits that make bananas so valuable in the first place. And here's an even bigger concern. If you refrigerate a banana that's already overripe, the cold moisture trapped inside the peel can turn the stem area into a breeding ground for mold. Mold exposure is particularly risky for older adults, who may have weakened immune systems and be more vulnerable to respiratory or digestive complications. So how should bananas be stored? Simple. At room temperature, ideally hung up or kept in a fruit bowl with airflow to prevent bruising. If they start to overripen and you can't eat them all in time, peel them and freeze them in a container or bag. They're perfect for smoothies, baking, or a healthy frozen treat. In short, don't let your fridge sabotage your bananas. What seems like a harmless habit could be costing you flavor, nutrition, and possibly even health. Treat bananas like the tropical gems they are, and keep the cold at bay. 9. Olive oil, the heart-healthy staple you should never refrigerate. Olive oil, a cornerstone of the Mediterranean diet, is lauded for its numerous health benefits. It's packed with heart-healthy monounsaturated fats, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory properties that support everything from cardiovascular health to reducing the risks of chronic diseases. It's the golden elixir we all rely on in salads, cooking, and even skincare. But here's the shocking truth. Refrigerating olive oil can turn it from a health powerhouse into a potential risk, especially for seniors. First, let's talk about the science behind this. Olive oil, like many oils, is composed of fatty acids that are sensitive to temperature changes. When you place it in the refrigerator, the cold causes the fatty acids to crystallize, turning the oil cloudy and partially solid. At first, this might seem harmless, just an aesthetic issue, right? Wrong. What most people don't realize is that the repeated temperature fluctuations of taking olive oil in and out of the fridge can create a serious health concern. Every time the oil is exposed to cold and then warmed up, it experiences oxidative stress. This process accelerates the breakdown of the oil's antioxidants and produces harmful free radicals that could potentially promote inflammation in the body. In seniors, whose bodies are more prone to joint inflammation and digestive issues, this oxidative stress can exacerbate these conditions, leading to discomfort and health complications. But that's not all. The oxidation process doesn't just harm the oil's beneficial compounds, it also deteriorates its flavor. Olive oil's distinct fruity, peppery notes are what make it a delight to the taste buds. Refrigerating it strips away these flavors, leaving the oil tasting flat and bland. So, not only are you losing the health benefits, but you're also sacrificing the enjoyment of one of the most beloved cooking ingredients. Another concern is that refrigerated olive oil is harder to pour and use. When it solidifies in the fridge, it becomes thick and difficult to handle. This can lead to accidental spills or overuse, potentially adding unnecessary calories to meals, which is especially concerning for seniors trying to maintain a balanced diet. So, what's the best way to store olive oil? The key is storing it at room temperature in a dark, cool place away from direct light and heat sources like stoves or windows. A dark glass bottle or metal container is ideal to protect the oil from light, which can also cause it to spoil. Properly stored, olive oil can retain its health benefits and flavor for up to 2 years. Olive oil is more than just a cooking ingredient. It's a health ally, but only if it's treated properly. Don't let the fridge ruin this liquid gold. Keep it in the right conditions, and it will continue to provide heart-healthy fats, delicious flavors, and the antioxidant benefits you've come to rely on. We've covered some shocking truths about everyday foods that you've probably been refrigerating without a second thought. Whether it's bananas, potatoes, garlic, or olive oil, the truth is that improperly storing these items in the fridge can have serious consequences for both your health and the quality of the food you eat. From nutrient loss to potential toxic reactions, it's clear that we need to rethink how we store our food to ensure we're protecting our health, especially as we age. By making small changes in your kitchen, such as keeping your bananas at room temperature or moving your olive oil to a cool, dark place, you can preserve the health benefits of your food and enhance the flavors you enjoy every day. This is particularly crucial for seniors whose immune systems may not be as strong as they once were. The risk of foodborne illness, nutrient depletion, and harmful chemical reactions can increase significantly, so it's essential to store your food the right way. It's time to treat food storage with the seriousness it deserves. Start by organizing your kitchen according to the best storage practices for each food type. Avoid refrigerating tropical fruits like bananas and avocados. Store potatoes, onions, and garlic in cool, dark places. For bread, keep it at room temperature or freeze it to maintain its texture. And for the love of olive oil, keep it in a dark cabinet away from the fridge. We know habits can be hard to break, but taking a few minutes to rearrange your kitchen could go a long way in preventing health issues down the road. The good news is that it's never too late to start making smarter choices. You don't have to be a food expert to know that your health is priceless, and with just a bit of knowledge, you can improve your life by simply adjusting how you store your groceries. Now that you know the risks, it's up to you to take action. Revisit your kitchen today and start making those small changes. Your body will thank you for it. Let us know in the comments if you've been refrigerating any of these foods unknowingly, and what steps you'll take to correct it. Don't forget to share this information with your loved ones, especially seniors who may not realize the dangers lurking in their fridge. Stay informed, stay healthy, and take charge of your food storage habits. Like this video and subscribe to our channel for more helpful tips and important health insights to keep you living your best life.